Chapter 39. The documents we recovered at the Baxter estate turn out to be rather useful. It appears that we found the main base of operation of the Brotherhood in Georgia. This makes our failure to recover its leader intact that much more regrettable, but also allows us to learn quite a bit. Many of the notebooks detail transfers of supply and money to various local cells, and by checking against records we convince merchants to share. We identify 3 hideouts in the span of a month. Dalton manages to convince the third one that he's a member of the Brotherhood for long enough to learn a few things before we neutralize it. We confirm that they're on the trail of the wreck of the Lacadia, and that the ship was used by their sister organization in London to transfer a relic of great significance. There is no doubt in my mind that this is the key that breaks that Nashoba was referring to. Unfortunately, it soon becomes clear that those Brotherhood members are but low-level agents. They know barely enough to accomplish their objectives, a cautious policy that proves the experience of our foes in the business of secrecy. We still have no idea about who their leadership is and what they aim to achieve, or indeed what the relic really is. Some of their notable members may know more, though going after such public figures will require some preparation. I do not want to leave a slew of murdered high-profile targets. There is no surer way to attract the attention of powerful forces I would be unable to face. September 9th, Higginsville, Georgia. I am in the planning room reviewing notes when I feel panic coming from Dalton. I surge to the door and come across him in the entrance. What is it? Mistress. There is a vampire outside. Ah. Only one? That I can tell. They are wearing a mask, and they are dressed in gray. My mind, which was on the verge of panic, immediately calms down and I smile happily. Gray, you say? Mistress? I open the door outside and take in the newcomer. Masked, she is dressed in a form-fitting lamellar armor of exquisite make. The whispers of powerful enchantments come from her arm guards and the sword at her waist, a blade I recognize easily. Jimena. Are you going to invite me in? Her voice comes clearly and carries a hint of a smile, yet it also sounds tired. Of course, I offer you my hospitality. Thank you, Ariane. I lead her up the stairs. Dalton has gone to warn Loth. You have a vassal? Yes. At such a young age too, I am impressed. I do not reply, and we soon find ourselves in the smoking room. Jimena takes a seat with a sigh that betrays a weariness that is not physical in nature. I need to ask you something, Ariane. Yes? I need your help infiltrating a major army camp and killing its general, no questions asked. When are we leaving? Jimena lets out a short laugh, bitter, yet relieved. I knew I could count on you. Pack your things and bid your farewells. Your companions must stay here, your vassal too. We will be back within a week. Ah, so we were going to kill the commanding officer of a local force. This is troublesome. Murdered public figures attract a great deal of attention, something I could use a lot less of. Without a word, I leave to prepare, meeting Loth and Dalton on the way. I confirm that it is safe. In anticipation of a possible evacuation, I have an emergency bag ready for a quick departure. I grab it and add a few personal effects, traveling clothes, and my rifle. I also take a silver bullet with a piercing lip, courtesy of the master of the house. When it comes to assassinations, long-range weapons are always a safe bet. When I return to the entrance, I find all 3 people talking in quiet voices. Dalton is telling them of his latest arrest involving a duo of conmen pretending to be Castilian nobility. They did not speak 3 words of Spanish between themselves. Ah, you're here. Loth, Dalton, I am sorry but I cannot involve you in this. Don't worry, I understand. Just make sure you bring her back to me in one piece. Yes, I promise, though I would not worry too much. I am sure she can defend herself. Her tone is dismissive, her demeanor, distracted. I am deeply concerned. All the vampires I have met learn very soon how to school their expressions and keep their emotions under control. Beyond politeness, it is a question of survival. That Jimena would give it up fills me with worry. She politely bows to Loth and Dalton both and turns without a look. With a last goodbye, I hurry to follow. Jimena, I have a sarcophagus we could use to sleep safely. I have my own and we can share it. She stops in her tracks and turns to me. For the first time this evening, I detect a hint of hesitation. Ariane, I know you are not like me and ain't so. I will not force anything upon you, I give you my word. Ah, yes, I reply with tremor. I will have to let her touch me, probably. It should be fine. I trust her, I think. Worry not, the secured container is wide enough. I understand that you need space. Listen, Ariane, no, I will tell you in a moment. I apologize for the confusion. As you can guess, I feel a bit out of sorts. Understatement of the year. She seems so lost, almost like a human. This bothers me more than I would like to admit. I still trail her without pause. We exit Loth's grounds and find a black carriage at a crossroad. I am surprised to see horses again and I remember that Lambert used to ride one. I never asked, how are those horses not afraid of us? They are called nightmares, a special breed. Quite expensive. And that is it. Proper conversation is a lost art, it seems. It would be easier to pull rotten teeth from a grizzly than to draw words from my companion tonight. I give up, and we depart in silence after she covers her conspicuous armor with a cloak. I expect us to make good time and I am soon proven wrong. After less than an hour of travel Jimena leaves the eastern road for a side path, and we soon arrive in front of a concealed lake lined with wildflowers. The landscape is so enchanting that I have little doubt that she selected it on purpose. The view of the stars and moon in the cloudless night sky is breathtaking. Tendrils of baleful purple reflect on the surface of the placid water, turning it into an exotic composition enshrined in a green background. The sounds of life and the movements around us only understate our immobility, a proof that we have more in common with what is above than what is around. Vampires in general are mostly static, until we are not. Jimena removes a ceremonial knife from a recess in her gray armor and turns it in her hands thoughtfully. The blade is not metal, but a crystalline and irregular form. I give her the time she needs to gather her courage. Eventually, she does and makes a conscious effort to meet my eyes. When you left New Orleans I wrote you a letter. In it, I called you blood sister. It was presumptuous of me to say that. I gather you do not know what blood bonds are. I am sorry, I do not. There is no need to apologize, my dear. Blood bonds are promises of friendship between two vampires that transcend allegiance. To claim one is a great privilege, for they are precious things. Few would dare to commit themselves to such a deep oath. Jimena takes a deep breath before continuing. I offer and ask that we join as one. I pause, surprised. And where does this come from? I cross my arm in front of me in what I know to be a defensive gesture. I care not about showing signs of weakness in front of her. Apparently, we are past that. What does it really entail? There are many words I could say, yet they matter little. The essence of the bond is that we will protect and work in each other's best interest when asked and when possible. The words of the oath themselves are vague but the meaning is clear. We will become as sisters should be. I ponder this for a moment. I like and respect her as a friend, I do. I owe her my life and freedom and quite a bit besides, and none of it matters. This oath, it is not one that stems from obligation. It requires free will in its purest form. I am no mistress, you know this. When Irari returns, his will shall crush mine and there is nothing I can do about it. If he does return, then it will be so. We do not ask the impossible of each other, we ask that we act when it matters. Why do you want to take the oath, really? You already did for me more than I could ever ask and I never hesitated to join you. We act as if we were sisters. Yes, and this would make it official. You will be able to claim this bond, as will I. You are taking a risk with this, are you not? With all due respect, I do not give a dead rat's ass. I came and asked for help. You answered. You did not even stop to think about it. That is all I need to know. A sister. I never had a sister, yet if I did, I wish she could have been like Jimena, unconditionally supportive, fearless, and caring. I accept. Jimena blinks in a show of powerful emotion. She swallows with difficulty and slices her palm with the glassy blade, then shoves it in my face like a bashful teenager at her first outing. In joy and despair, in feast and battle, in triumph and death, one of heart. My, so brusque. She really isn't one for long ceremonies. One of heart, I reply, and slice my hand as well. We join, and for a beautiful moment, I feel the deep bond of kinship that we just created. We stay here for a while, enjoying the deep trust between us and the ephemeral beauty of the scene around us, and I. All right, let's go. Ah. Why, you tomboyish lout. Can't I not enjoy the moment? Are you this much in a hurry? Sorry, I am not good at this sort of thing. Sorry. She rushes away, towards the carriage. The fugacious satisfaction I had fades like dew under the sun, and my mouth curves into a pout. It really isn't fair. This is the sort of memory that lasts a lifetime, or several in our case, and she went and ruined it. Seriously. When we depart once more, she will not meet my eyes. I settle into a sulky silence and wonder what it will take for her to share what is troubling her so. Only then would I be able to untwist her panties, as Loth would say it. We ride past sleepy hamlets and harvested fields in silence. I consider taking out my notebook and reviewing either runes or our latest progress, and eventually decide against it. I have not been out here for a while, just enjoying the landscape as we pass it. This activity lacks the frantic pleasure of running outside that I do enjoy so much, and yet I find it relaxing in its own right. Perhaps I needed this. We have been focused so much on tracking the Brotherhood, that not an instant has passed that I did not think about it. This distraction is a boon in disguise. It is long past midnight when we come across a small patrol carrying torches. 2 men on horses with muskets at their back ride to us. We are hailed by the lead. Hold. State your name and business. We are travelers and our business is our own, replies Jimena testily before I even manage to consider a diplomatic response. That is not the proper way to handle this situation. It is my business if 2 women are out there at this hour around those parts. Where are your fathers and husbands, I ask? Proper, God-fearing ladies have no cause to wander around after the light is out. And proper gentlemen have no cause to accost women, after dark and otherwise. Now step aside and I will remind you to mind your manners. I will not allow a woman to teach a man, she must remain silent. Replies the man with a triumphant sneer. At this stage, both the second patrolman, who is a young man with a frizzy mustache, and myself share a moment of horrified fascination. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart, retorts Jimena with deadpan delivery. See? 2 can play that game. Now that both parties have shown their ability to quote the Bible when it suits their purposes, we enter the next phase of any doctrinal dispute, violence. The man sputters in fury and pushes his horse to my sister, who looks at him with the immobility of the gargoyle. I can feel the turmoil in her aura. Oh no. I really hope she brought a shovel. I'm going to teach you some respect, wench. He grabs for her shoulder and pulls the other hand to throw a punch. Faster than even I can see, both his arms are imprisoned in a steel grip. By what right? By what right will you teach me a lesson? Because you are stronger. Because society allows it? Well, go ahead. Punish, Almighty One. What is wrong with her? Jimena releases one hand, and her assailant throws a hook in her cheek. Let me go, you crazy hag. Jimena's dismissive slap cracks against his head, blood gushes from his mouth and falls on the dirt below. His horse starts to panic. In front of me, the second militiaman looks on stupefied before grabbing his musket. Oh, well, it was nice meeting you. I jump. In a single bound, I cross the distance that separates us, then throw him on the ground and stab his panicked ride in the brain. I jump down as it falls and catch the downed man by his ankle before he can crawl away. I then drag my screaming captive under the cover of the trees. At least my need for blood is momentarily solved. Before leaving to a more secluded place, I turn back to a somewhat bashful Jimena. She holds her own prey in a choke and has the decency to look embarrassed. I make myself frown to clearly mark my displeasure. Do not take too long. If she lets his horse go, I swear I am not running after it. What was this all about anyway? Ah, never mind that. Let me enjoy myself first. Would you mind explaining what is going on? This is nothing to concern yourself about, says Jimena with a grunt as she digs deeper. The hole required to bury 2 horses is very deep. It will take us the rest of the night to finish. Well, it will take her the rest of the night. I have elected not to help. It is, if you were going to act like a blood-crazed fledgling with a grudge. I thought we were in a hurry. This was entirely uncalled for and you know it. Jimena sighs deeply and leans on the shovel. I am loath to bother you with it. You are already helping me tremendously and I offered you sisterhood partly for this. With our bond now made undeniable, you can claim me as sister and when the time comes, call for my help as well. This is not just about begging. Being your sister means that we share our concerns, not just use each other's support for clandestine operations. There is a step between partners in crime and siblings. She lowers her head in shame. You were right, of course. I am sorry. So many things have happened in the past few years that have challenged my beliefs, and now I am facing some uncomfortable truths about the world and myself. I realize now that I am dragging you into this. I can tell that you are facing your own struggles and still I bother you with my concerns. Will you stop this already? Just spit it out, woman. Do not force me to extract the information out of you. Oh. She replies with a bit of mirth, and what will you do if I refuse? I'll sing. Jimena laughs at what she believes to be an idle threat. A short rendition of Auld Lang Syne for the departed patrol later, she quickly reassesses the danger her ears and sanity find themselves in. All right, I'll talk, just please, stop. Oof. I see that you were not bluffing. Now I must ask, when I suggested music, did you follow through? Please say no. I am not a fool. I picked up drawing and painting. Thank the watcher. I know that you potentially have decades to practice, but you were trying to change topic, dear sister, and I would qualify this latest remark as a low blow. Perhaps I should pick up where I left off. No, forgive me. I will speak. I close my mouth like one sets a blade. For the umpteenth time tonight, Jimena sighs loudly and painfully. She resumes digging and starts her story. At first, her tone is hesitant, almost shy, and she often lifts her head to look for a reaction. Then, she forgets about everything to let her story flow. In order to explain my distress and the situation I find myself in, I have no choice but to tell you of my story. I know of your past, and it is now time for me to share mine as well. I was born in a village in Catalonia in the year 1686. And before you interrupt, yes, I know you have no idea where this is and so I will elaborate. Catalonia is a region in the northeast of Spain. Now, when you think of my homeland at that time, you probably imagine galleons filled with gold, fiery soldiers full of bravado dueling before a field of wheat while clad in garish colors. Yes? I blame the book you sent me, the descriptions were fairly vivid. I answer. She snickers but the sound comes off wrong. It is cold and empty, just a human gesture produced out of habit and politeness with no real substance. There is not a trace of mirth in it, and I soon learn why. Spain at that time was hell on earth. It was a corpse ravaged by war, famine, droughts and plagues. Bandits and mercenaries scoured the land and milked it to its last dregs, and its people were facing suffering the likes of which had not been seen in centuries. There was no longer a state. Justice could not be obtained but by the strength of one's arms. The inequality of status between the mighty nobles squabbling like vultures and the poorest commoners cannot be understood by one who was born in a republic. Jimena's shovel arcs in the air, sending a plume of rocks and mud that falls like hail on the branches of a nearby tree. Look at me, using all those complicated words and setting the scene like we are going to the bloody opera. Let me paint you a clearer picture. I was born from the daughter of a coalman and a passing soldier. She had many other children and we all grew up together with others in this small village at the edge of a forest. We were hungry all the time. We were also destitute, and insignificant. My favorite half-brother died when he crossed the road in front of a viscount and forced him to slow down. The man shot him in the head there and then. My younger cousin was found by bandits as she was foraging for food at the edge of the road to Tarragona. They had their fun, then slit her throat. She was 13. In winter we had to take turns going out because we only had enough clothes for 3 children at once. The rest had to huddle naked under a pile of filthy blankets. We had to dump our dead outside and bury them in spring because no one had the strength and willingness to dig into the ice. Every year, we lost family to disease and exposure. Every year the remaining ones would rot like beasts, and every year, the tired women would pop out screaming runts into the world, and would latch them to their barren breasts in the hope that this one would survive to adulthood. This was my life. In our village, there lived an old priest. He was the 3rd son of a merchant who fell out of favor with his hierarchy for one reason or another. He liked to gather the survivors and tell us stories of a time when our nation was rich and mighty. He told us we used to be the pride of Europe, that we cut the Americas between ourselves with another country called Portugal. He told us of the Habsburg Empire and how massive it was, ranging from the Mediterranean to a land far to the north, beyond the Pyrenees. I was full of questions. I asked him why we were suffering. Were we punished by him? He said that yes, we had lost our ways and that we used to follow the values of Christianity and were being punished for our conceit. He told me of the heroes of our past, including El Cid, and his wife Dona Jimena Diaz, who shared my name. I thought about that a lot. Perhaps if I lived a better life, the human God would bless me and I could save myself and Spain like El Cid saved Leon and Castile from Ibn Yusuf. A few months later, my little band found a wounded noble on a hunting path we were using to poach rabbits. Most of us wanted to rob him, but I alone argued against it, and since I was taller and stronger than most, we brought the man to a refuge we used to smoke the meat and dry pelts. When he woke up, the first thing he did was to beat me black and blue and accuse me of assaulting him. He then decided to teach me a lesson. I was lucky. My strongest cousin came back with an early catch and got him off of me before he could finish. Then, I took his dagger and I stabbed him, and kept stabbing until he stopped moving. I know how this feels. The powerlessness, the unfairness, the pain, the guilt. We buried his body and I took his purse to the closest city. A few boys and I bought bags of grains and meat with the coin we had found. For a week afterwards, none of us went hungry. This is when it came to me. I had followed the will of the church and lost my virtue, then I followed the will of the world and got a full stomach. I got a lot of respect out of the plunder from the ankle-biters of the village. I could beat most boys in a straight fight, I could come up with plans, and I did not belong to any man. That was enough to become a leader. The next time some lowlifes came by to take our food, we waited until they were drunk and asleep and killed them all. We took their weapons and used them to prey on travelers and merchants alike. We were cautious and patient, and we left no witnesses. And so I became a bandit queen. We had a good run. We chose our targets carefully and would spend entire seasons without attacking anyone. With this, we were able to get things for our village. Men had the strength to work. Women would not starve so much, and many more children made it through the winter. It lasted until that fateful night we tried to attack a single mark. A noble carriage with no escort drawn by 2 black horses. Ah! Yes, this is how I met Lady Urraca, my sire, and the only lady of the Cadiz clan. Jimena's mood turns contemplative after that. I know that upon reaching masterhood, vampires are freed from the need to obey the one who turned them. It does not cut all ties, however, and it appears that her relationship with this Urraca lady is more harmonious than what I have with Master. She was so impressed with a band led by a woman that she only killed 2 of us. The others were let go under the condition that I would enter her service. And I did, gladly. Now, you may wonder why I would serve a monster willingly. You have to understand, I was certain I was doomed. Thou shalt not kill. I had broken the most cardinal rule. It was a damned soul no matter what, and I fully expected, in my heart, that one day my luck would run out and I would end up trying to hold in my entrails on the side of some muddy road, or with my corpse hanging from a noose and crows gobbling up my eyes. This is what the world had in store for me, and I did not know, did not hope for anything better. And then this woman came. She was not a member of the nobility, yet she was rich and clean and smelled so good. Fat merchants and pompous counts alike would fight over her favors. She was a woman, and yet she was a fierce warrior learned in the ways of the blade. She was not a believer, and yet she seemed at peace with the world and herself. I was told this was impossible. I was wrong. I wanted to be her. I loved her. No, I adored her. She was the world to me. She moved through the night granting gifts to those who deserved it and punishing those that abused their power. All those Valados parasites were but dead branches that she carefully pruned from her domain, like one tends a garden. Their pathetic plots were seen through and unmade in record time. This is it, I thought at that time, this is what a true heroine is. When she selected me to be turned, it was the most beautiful day of my life. I was convinced then that I would live among vampires a life of honor, following our strict code of conduct and carving a place for myself at the tip of my sword. The days of corruption, nepotism and petty politics would end with me. Oh, don't look at me like that. I was 18 and Lady Urraca was the only one of us I had ever met. Jimena looks older than 18. The life of a highwaywoman must have been harrowing, or perhaps it made her mature faster. For all her apparent candor, I did not miss the moment she said they left no witnesses. You can imagine my disappointment. Disillusion is a dangerous emotion for us. But still I fought on because I realized there existed a group that shared my beliefs. The knights. Yes. Clad in grey to show that they shed their erstwhile allegiances. A unified army with strict rules, fighting to rid the world of its worst elements. This is a bit ironic considering vampires can be seen as the world's most dangerous elements. Do you really believe that? Jimena's question is a valid one. I think for a moment. Do I believe myself a blight on this world? Not really. I have killed, yes, many times, and yet I have also protected my territory from worse threats. We are the lesser evil, I believe. Were we to rule the world, there would be less freedom, and also less senseless slaughter. Something to keep in mind. No, I do not. My sister nods as if there ever were any doubt. As someone who has seen the worst humanity has to offer, we must seem mild to her in comparison. I joined the knights and for a while I really believed I had found my place. Squads and individuals were dispatched to bring order and discipline, relentless in this pursuit. Then I was betrayed on a protection mission. Betrayed? Yes. I was charged with bringing a fledgling to Geneva for judgment. We knew she had committed an unsanctioned massacre, but her master's involvement was still under debate. She was to be put to the question. Fledgling cannot countermand their master's order. If they ordered her to be quiet, she would not talk. Jimena stops digging for a second and leans on the shovel, as if under a great weight. There are ways to break the compulsion. A vampire's body can endure inhuman amounts of punishment when their spirits cannot. Even the Ekon and their legendary pain tolerance will eventually succumb to agony, and the truth can be extracted from a shattered mind. As I said, it has been done, and will be done again. Goodness. Yes, in any case, I gave our route to a fellow knight who was in the vicinity, requesting support, unaware that he and my charge's master had been lovers. You did not know. It was not common knowledge. He leaked the route. We were ambushed and the fledgling was slain. An inquiry revealed the knight's duplicity and he was punished then exiled. My own failure was judged less harshly, and I was only demoted. Jimena stares in the distance for a while, then resumes her digging. When you found me under the keep, I was bitter. The emotion carried by your tears allowed me to deal with the frustration and anger at the unfairness of it all. It led to the belief that this was only a one-time occurrence. I had to accept that knights were fallible. As I mentioned in one of my letters, I was given the opportunity to regain my rank by the head of the knights in Boston, a man named Wolfgang. I must accomplish several tasks, and if successful, I will be a knight again. Only. Yes? There are 2 other squires in this land, and one of them has been sabotaging my work. You can imagine my present state of mind. Oh, my, this again. I must ask though, are you and those other squires in competition? Implicitly. The length one has to remain a squire can vary according to their ranking. Have you considered that Wolfgang may have left instructions to test whether or not you learned your lesson? She freezes completely. What lesson would that be? Don't trust anyone, not even other knights. She puts the shovel down. You are implying that he would cripple his own operations on purpose? Perhaps, perhaps not, but what better way to see if a fallen knight can be redeemed than to make her face what caused her failure, the betrayal of her own side, once more? Then it means I made a mistake when asking you for support. We are not to share the details of current operations. I am already stretching the rules as it is, by asking you to come to back me up out of concern for a trap. Or perhaps you are using an outside and reliable ally when a fellow squire is not. Yes. Yes, you are correct. I know I can count on you because I know you. I am right to follow my instincts. Just as I should have followed both my instincts and common sense before. This is a test, one way or the other. Thank you, Rianne, this was enlightening. I do believe you are giving me too much credit. I am not. I was bitter because nothing has changed, and I was wrong. I cannot make the world perfect, but I can do what you do. Eating one's enemies? No. Well, yes, but not just that. I meant the way you see the world. You understand the bigger picture, yet you always genuinely focus on the most immediate issue, the one you may yet solve. Instead of being dejected that some knights do not conform to my standards, I should instead work on purging them from our ranks. Yes, that is what I should do. Thank you, Ari, thank you. I am not convinced that I should take any credit in this whole affair. I still nod in recognition. I am glad to be of assistance. There is just one last thing. I think you can stop digging now, I say as I indicate that the hole is now deeper than she is tall. Ah. Yes. This is deep enough. We just need to put them in and refill. No, dear sister, you refill. Bah, fine. As fate would have it, our target is near Fort Barrington, location of my last meeting with the Honorable Sir Bingle. I am tempted to check on Cecily and see if she found a good party. Unfortunately we are here for business, as Loth would put it, and so I stick to Amina and the plan. Once she told me our target was in a military camp, I was imagining rows of tents and men at parade surrounded by earthworks and wooden towers, like I saw in those patriotic recollections distributed around town. I was mistaken. This is no temporary bivouac of an army on the march, it is for all intents and purposes a town. Fort Barrington proper lies on a fortified hill surrounded on 2 sides by rivers and on the last one by a complex of fortifications and redoubts. We have no issue passing those in our carriage, and I soon understand why. Beyond the first ring lies a mess of wooden huts of simple, but solid make. Between them and even at night, a crowd has gathered around an improvised marketplace. Sutlers operating from wagons provide men on leave with tobacco and alcohol. Women collect used uniforms and return them sewn and laundered. The smell of food is everywhere, and the sounds of sex coming from a 2-story building shows beyond a doubt that the world's oldest profession is practiced here. There are at least 500 people around us as we make our way to what seems to be the designated parking space. Some soldiers even walk around with their wives and children. How many combatants are we talking about here? The 3rd Line Infantry Regiment and 1st Regiment of Georgia Militia with some horses and artillery, a bit over 3,000 men in total. Access to the general's quarter is restricted at all times, therefore we will have to infiltrate the base itself. I see. And the target? General Chester Floyd, commander of the 7th Military District. He dies tonight. We park between 2 empty wagons and I get down quickly. We will proceed with our task when most mortals have fallen asleep. You should not show yourself too much. People will remember tonight, and strangers most of all. Hold on, I have an idea. I will be back in 10 minutes. True to my word, I run my errand, making sure to charm my memory away from the cloth merchant and return promptly to my accomplice. When Jimena sees me, her brows creep up ever so slightly. Ta-da! What do you think? In the darkness, we could pass as soldiers. It should help our infiltration. Jimena blinks several times as she takes in my uniform. Ariane, turn around please. I grumble and comply. Those trousers are entirely too tight where it counts, and I am afraid that the seams will just pop open should I attempt to crouch too fast. When I am facing my sister again, she is biting her lower lip. Is something the matter? It's a good idea. Oh, Ariane, it is certainly an excellent idea. Revolutionary and eye-opening. Unfortunately, how should I put it? You are too shapely to pass as a man. It will be dark. Anyone who spots you in this uniform will inevitably notice that it is being worn by a woman. I am sorry, Ariane. Oh. I was really looking forward to being disguised too. Well, I suppose I will have to return them. No, wait. Give them to me please, I want Atsa to try them on. Jimena, surely you would not ask her to infiltrate a base? What? Oh, of course not, HRM. Don't worry, I will make sure she removes it. Promptly. You have my word. It will be for a good cause. Curious. Oh well, it matters not. Rather, I can lend you one of my squire armors. They are adjustable. That will not be necessary, I would rather move in the outfit I am comfortable with. In the next few minutes, we compare our murder apparels in an impromptu fashion meet. And the blood washes so easily. What a marvelous contraption, dear sister. Did you say the dress has a heart protector I recommended? Indeed. Stupendous. I wonder if Lothar Skarag would be inclined to make one for me, against compensation of course. I am sure he would be delighted to have your business. We promptly get prepared. I keep my tall errand in a black shoulder holster to prevent light from shining on it while we move, and though my sister frowns with disapproval, she does not object me bringing it. I would sure hope so. Next to poison, ranged weaponry is a great way to get rid of targets safely, and we are hunting a human. Truly, my rifle is the optimal solution. Jimena has me memorize a basic map of the military camp itself, and we settle to wait in companionable silence. The sounds of the night grow progressively more subdued as the crowd drifts to sleep. A little past midnight, she stands up and declares that it is time. We run through the village in perfect silence, easily avoiding the occasional late revelers. We soon reach open ground and accelerate towards our target. When we reach the first earthworks, Jimena easily jumps over it and I follow her immediately. As she lands, she seems to remember me and looks with worry, promptly turning to relief as I stop beside her. This situation is repeated a few times until she realizes that I have no difficulty matching her speed. All those nights spent running around have finally paid off. In the next few minutes, we weave and sneak our way through the base like ghosts. We step behind patrols, between pickets and above the walls of redoubts. Neither rocks nor spikes can stop vampires. Nor can eyes and ears catch us as we make our way through mortal defenses with perfect discretion, unmatched and unbothered. The entire facility lies open, and I use this opportunity to inspect it. Rows of wooden barracks housing a squad, each alternate with smithies, armories and barns. I have issues wrapping my head around the number of fighting men present here, and they only represent a fraction of the forces that would be brought to bear against an invasion. I can only imagine major battles involving tens of thousands of troops. What a spectacle it must be. How unfortunate that such actions only occur during the day. Without incident, we approach the general's quarter from the side. He lives in an old house that predates the camp by a few years, surrounded in turn by a square fort with guard towers on each corner. We easily jump up the wall and, after making sure that the sentries are looking elsewhere, drop down. I immediately follow Jimena in the shadow of a small cabin built against the palisade. In the middle of the open ground stands the refuge of the man we are here to slay. It shines in my eyes like a city's night sky, while several squads stand at attention. I knew it, whispers my companion, and indeed her suspicions are confirmed. The stone edifice is covered in wards and spells of all kinds. It is enough to make it almost impregnable. Only someone warned beforehand would set up such an intricate and expensive work in place. This represents several days of effort for a team of experienced mages, and a small fortune in materials. Jimena was indeed betrayed, by someone with a connection to spellcasters. "Can you break the protections so that I may get in?" she asks. I turn to her dismissively. "What are you talking about? We are not here to infiltrate, but to end a life. We would need to drag him out of this death trap." "Inaccurate, sister. I only need to see him, and I know the way to do it." I examine our surroundings and locate what I expected. The fort is designed to be autonomous under siege even if artillery would make short work of the walls, therefore it contains a powder reserve. "Here is what we should do," I whisper, and share a simple plan. At first Jimena is reluctant. Her old-fashioned approach to operations conflicts with my method, and yet she cannot deny the allure of such a pragmatic solution. "Very well, sister, I shall follow your lead in this matter." She is about to leave when she stops and adds in a whisper, without facing me, "When you came to me in the keep, you said you were a fair shot and I ridiculed you for it. I owe you an apology. Then do so after I succeed. Good luck." I breathe in and out with absolute calm. The two men on the guard tower slumber at my feet, their willpower no match for my full-powered charm. The night is silent but for the flames of open torches and the heartbeats of tired men. I wait. 100 paces in front of me, Jimena slips behind a board guard and slowly lifts a set of keys from his belt. She turns and opens the door to the armory. It turns on its hinges in silence. She disappears inside and emerges a few moments later with a barrel of powder. I wait. She skirts the outer wall in the darkness to a shed facing the general's bedroom. I wait. A fire erupts from it. It quickly engulfs the small structure while Jimena slips away. Screams and sounds of alerts erupt left and right. I wait. The shed explodes in a rain of fire and shards. An alarm bell rings in the distance. At my feet, one of the guards stir. The air is filled with yells and screams. The camp is waking up. I wait. A trumpet blares in the darkness while a crowd of half-naked men rushes out of their beds, weapon in hands. They spread out. Additional torches redden the night, casting shades on the ground that shake and twist as if dancing in madness. I wait. The shutters open to reveal an old man with short hair wearing an open shirt. His eyes are a striking blue and a small scar on his left cheek are all that remain from a Crete arrow. "Hello, Chester, and goodbye." I pull the trigger. With unerring accuracy, my tall errant rifle sends its payload into the night. Loth's engraved silver bullet shatters the wards as if they were flimsy glass. A red flower blooms on his forehead and I know his brains now splatter the inside of his bedroom. I take a second to holster my weapon. My task is accomplished. What? Mumbles a sleepy guard. I backhand him into unconsciousness again. I could just kill him, but I love the idea of leaving only one victim. The message is that much more potent. It shows that all those guards were so useless we did not even bother taking them out. As Jimena reaches me, we jump out and vanish into the night. The next evening. You are incredible, Ariane. I have never seen a young courtier move as well as you did. I never expected you to keep up with me so easily. And this is not just your physical abilities that do you credit. It was a brilliant idea to use fire as a diversion and the risks were calculated. I was hesitant at first, because I have had unfortunate experiences in the past. Obviously my concerns were unwarranted. Yes, I had Loth teach me a bit about fire management after I too made a bit of a disaster, I add with a wince. Well, at least you did not try the flaming pigs. I swear this was the second worst idea I ever had. I am glad that you could learn from my mistakes. I wince once more, not meeting her eyes. Ariane. Please no, I do not want to be reminded of that debacle. Ariane, I quite specifically told you. I know, all right. It was an accident. How can it be an accident? You used fire. There were pigs. I did not know they were there specifically. How did you not anticipate this development, I ask? Halt. We turn around to a strong picket of men checking the camp's exit. "Am I disturbing you ladies in the middle of an argument?" asks the head guard with a smirk. He is an imposing sergeant with the countenance of a man who has seen much. Black pockets under his eyes are a sure sign that his shift should have ended long ago. With the assassination of its highest-ranking member, the camp is in disarray, and by now most soldiers only remain upright by sheer frustration. "Of course not, sir. And why are you leaving us so soon?" I capture his attention and realize the man is frustrated. He most likely believes the killer to be either a turncoat in hiding or long gone. He is also dismissive, as in his mind 2 young women could not possibly be the culprits. "Our business is done. We are heading back to our village, sir." "Your business, huh?" he adds, and I realize I was mistaken. He thinks us courtesans heading back to wherever we came from after entertaining officers. Our fresh faces and subdued clothes, coupled with the fact we travel alone, place us firmly in this category. I smile sheepishly. "Yes, my good man, you caught us. Will you need to search the carriage?" "How do you know we search carriages?" he asks with a frown. Jimena turns a worried eye to me, but I reply without pause. "You searched the one in front of us, and now you stop us." "Sir." My voice is candid and without arrogance. I slightly push on the feeling of dismissal, and the sergeant soon turns around and waves us off. I nod and we depart. Jimena smiles appreciatively after we are out of earshot. "That was quick and efficient, Ariane. You are full of surprises. I'm just as resourceful as I hoped." "Yes, dear sister, it is extraordinary how much can be achieved when one does not antagonize a figure of authority in front of its subordinates, is it not?" Jimena ruminates on that before continuing. "I think I liked you better when you were not so sassy." So, this is how Dalton feels when he gives me lip? My situation is hopeless, for he will never give up that beautiful vindication. We spent the trip back in stories and humorous bickering. Chapter 40. Report. My dream palace melts in a phantasmagoria of shapes and colors. Awareness comes and goes with the ebb and flow of the riotous tide that pushes me forward. I know in my soul that I am here for a reason, an important one. An evanescent feeling of purpose. It calls to me from beyond the mirage swirling around my essence. As I think this, I breach a sort of membrane and fall forward into a body that is not my own. I do not have the time to consider any of its physical properties, for my mind is swallowed by an overwhelming sensation. So much power. The mind of a demigod courses through my veins, begging to be used. I tower above all and none can match me. The clouds of shifting illusions coalesce and turn dark. A scene unravels before me. I am standing there and I am bored. Plumes of smoke rise into the night sky as fire ravages the husk of a fishing village. Nets, baskets and jars litter the ground alongside armor-clad corpses. There is not a laborer in sight. All those who lie here are warriors, or rather, what passes as a warrior in this pathetic era. They are fools. Weak fools. I direct my steps to a man in gray plate, still clinging to life. My feet raise clouds of ash as I cleave my way through the remains of the fallen. Men, vampires, even exotic creatures called by magic, all fell before me without showing the barest sign of inspiration. The dimest spark of genius lives wasted in the pursuit of mediocrity, now fated to be lost to time, their memory stained by their ultimate and pointless failure. This one was their leader. His dark beard is stuck to his face by thick black blood, while the red flame of one of my spells slowly digs into his flesh. He raises mismatched eyes to me with the empty courage of men who have nothing to lose. I won't say anything. You might as well slay me, beast. You think I want to know why vampires and mages have united against me, or how you knew where I would emerge? You are mistaken, worm. I care not. The only thing I wonder is why you believe that you stood a chance. I pick him up by the collar. He grunts in pain as the motion makes my spell bite ever deeper. This is not new to me, none of this is. I have seen this alliance before. I have fought this kind of ambush before. I have slain lords and knights before. You bring me nothing. Even your flimsy excuses to stop me are rehashed arguments I have already heard 1,000 times. You have been nothing but a disappointment, though I am feeling generous tonight. Tell me something interesting and I will let you live. I know who it is you seek. You will never catch her. I have all of eternity, and I need to be lucky but once. I drain him dry and throw the smoldering corpse away. Van Heim bloodline, a bit bland for a lordling. Are the preparations complete? I perceive a lithe form nodding in dissent behind me. Good. I have tarried for too long and the trail has gone cold. It is not the first time and probably won't be the last either. Then go. My servant disappears. I would eagerly depart myself. Unfortunately, there is something left to do. My attackers evacuated the village before my arrival to prevent unnecessary casualties and to stop me from devouring them, perhaps. I need to show them the futility of such actions. I need to set an example so that I am left alone for a few decades. Another tedious task. To it then. I dreamt today. Nightmares torture me until I wake, and other phantasms always start in the heart of my mind fortress, so I know that this was different. Only, when I woke, the images fizzled between my fingers before I could commit them to memory. There was a man. No, I was a man, and there was also a fallen knight. He died. I killed him. I remember the taste of him. There was something important to realize, if only I could remember what it was. Can a dream really matter? Is there more to it than my sufferings and Nashoba's unwillingness to send a letter like everyone else? The carriage rolls to a halt, interrupting my musings. It is not yet time. We have just joined the line of people waiting to be admitted to John Fillmore's party. John Fillmore, self-made man and the current governor of Georgia. Also, a high-ranking member of the Brotherhood and my target tonight. I lower my gaze to the mask in my hands and lightly caress its lacquered surface. This is the latest addition to my arsenal. Loth really surpassed himself when he made this masterpiece. The exterior is a perfect oval in lunar white with no features. Towards the middle, two discreet holes allow me to breathe in when I need to sample scents, and the lower part can be removed, but is otherwise alien in its design. The total absence of feature makes me look like a true monster, and only serves to accentuate what I painted on it. I drew what can only be described as a giant mocking smile in pure black. It took me a long time to get the dismissive sneer just right, the perfect expression of amused contempt. 8 stylized fangs border the mouth in a powerful statement. There is a delicious irony in fully accepting my lineage only when anonymous. I also drew a pair of stylized brows and eyeshadows. When I angle my head forward, for example when I am in combat, the shades deepen and make me appear more murderous. The interior matches me completely so that it could hold even without straps. The mask leaves my ears and the back of my head free. It also contains the drawing of a rune, etched in gold, that should prove salutary. Its working masks my aura to an extent. It will not suffice when dealing with wards, but individuals will have a hard time noticing me. It will, hopefully, allow me to outrun what I cannot outfight. I put it on just as my ride stops in front of the monumental doors of the Fillmore residence and I step out to pass them, formal invitation in hand. The open gates, the major domo genially checking the cream envelopes, all seems to indicate that I am invited here, and I go through the threshold without issue but not without apprehension. It worked. I move forward to the ballroom as the first revelers turn to take in my sight. For this operation we have forfeited discretion and gone for maximum impact, and I must say that without the mask, I would not have had a gumption to carry this out. My attire is provocative. There is no other way to say it. I am wearing a black dress with long raven feathers covering the collar and shoulders. High gloves ending in chitinous talons cover my arms, and while I show very little skin, the attire is form-fitting. Shards of obsidian are sewn in hypnotic patterns along my side to attract and distract those that dare look. Wearing this dress is a statement I have no choice but to own. And so I weave my way to the crowd, haughty as you please. I dodge and slide and strut and stalk with a grace that no mortal can hope to match, and leave in my trail envy and just a tiny note of fear. Those who look will know I am a predator. For a woman to walk thus should be unthinkable in good society, and the same rule that should constrain me does not allow the attendees to challenge me aloud. The sensation is almost intoxicating. Tonight, I am not Ariane, the demure daughter of a landed gentleman, who was chaste and attended church every Sunday. I am Ariane of the Nerari, the daughter of Thorin and Hunger, she who carved a bloody path to freedom through vampires and werewolves alike. That Ariane does not care for peer pressure and the judgment of the cattle. She already has her place in the world, and friends she can rely on. I ignore the whispers, the gawking yokels and the dancers stumbling their way in the middle of the floor. I grab a float of champagne from a passing waiter and make my way out towards the garden. From the corner of my eye I see the master of the place, leaning to the side to ask some questions to a second major domo. I am no betting woman, but I would match peanuts against solid gold that it concerns my identity. With the bait set, I step outside. It so happens that Mr. Fillmore likes young and confident women. I am also not someone he has ever met, having obtained the invitation through one of their business partners. If everything works well, he should approach me himself. I only need to hold on until he makes a move, and I would rather avoid getting too stuck in discussions before it happens. I step outside and walk down a set of stairs on a gravel path surrounded by perfectly cut lawn. The garden expands before me, deserted at this hour. It is surprisingly vast. I slowly make my way alongside carefully carved trees and geometrically placed flower beds. Cubic hedges line the path forward. I recognize the marks of a French formal garden with its obsession of symmetry and control over nature. It used to be my favorite when I was younger. I had found its controlled lines and deliberate design soothing. Recently, I have found myself craving something a bit more on the wild side, and the design of my Mind Fortress Ethereal Park reflects this change of taste. There are more hidden paths and sinuous ways. The flowers of thorns and sprawl lazily where they please, covering strange rocks. My feet lead me to a small copse of trees, the only part of the property to have escaped man's controlling grasp, and I am for once surprised. There is already somebody there. A bit curious, I dodge under a branch and become the uninvited guest to a most peculiar show. A man in a satyr mask with two horns jutting upright is playing a silent melody on a transverse flute. I quickly understand the lack of sound. The strange musician has placed the end of a light scarf on the embouchure and lip plate, so as to prevent his creation from escaping. His fingers dance a light gig on the silvery metal until, as I watch, they tangle and stop. Overly complicated pretentious bullshit, he swears with emotion. Is that the name of the piece, good sir? The satyr jumps in surprise at my voice and grabs his heart. Good lord, Melody, please knock on a trunk next time. And without missing a beat, you are as quiet as a whisper. Melody, please forgive my manners, I had not seen you. He then bows smartly with his flute held to the side like a saber. You are forgiven, dear satyr. Though if I might ask, this is a strange place for rehearsal. I draw closer and study the weird human. He is probably quite young, dressed in a green suit adorned with leaves and vines and dyed fabric. His feet have been covered by a hilariously large set of fake hooves. Dark eyes without guile study me from behind the mask. A curtain of wavy black hair fall from it on both sides. Would you believe me if I said I am offering my songs to the goddess, hoping that Artemis herself will interrupt her hunt and descend from the firmament to bestow upon me the secrets of the night and perhaps even her favor? An exciting proposition, my friend, though satyrs served in a so's. Songs are the domain of Euterpe and, sadly, Artemis is forever a virgin. Curse classical education. My lies have been undone. To be fair, overly complicated bull. Poppycock, sounds like a poor offering. Nothing can escape your keen senses. Very well, I at least owe you the truth for submitting your ears to this unsightly display. I am hiding. From whom? Have you perhaps seen a woman in a brown dress rushing around? Wearing a dog mask? I cannot say that I did. She has been hounding me. I groan at the poor pun, yet cannot help but smile. The delivery was top-notch. It is true. Her name is Margaret Hard, daughter of a local furniture merchant, and she decided that we were destined for each other. I had no say in this decision, mind you. She has been courting me quite aggressively ever since. Has she captured your heart yet? No, though not for lack of assaulting it. I see, and this mask will not protect you? Oh, I cannot hide, I'm afraid. Despite the disguise, we remain recognizable. We are an insular folk here, and have known each other for years. No thick cloth nor masks will rid poor cousin Francis of his unfortunate tendency to scratch his ass in public, for example. Ah, pardon my French. You are forgiven for your language, sir, but not from bringing this to my imagination. I am inclined to retaliate by bringing your pursuers on you. I am at your mercy, Milady. Though, I would like to point out that she would devote some of that attention to you. As a rival? Assuredly. That seems far stretched, we only met. The poor girl is craving excitement, and the appearance of a mysterious and beautiful woman will be enough to name you an enemy for life. You must be exaggerating. Her most favored gossip remains her aunt's unwanted pregnancy. It does seem like a serious affair. Not if you consider that it happened 13 years ago. The boy is almost as tall as her, though obviously not quite as heavy. This is, to date, still the most exciting thing to happen in her life. Oh my, how dreadfully boring. I would rather spike myself and face the dawn than to live such an existence. Now you can imagine my worries. Marrying her would be a death of the soul. I understand. By the way, how do you know I am beautiful? I could be a gorgon under this guise. This is a masquerade, Milady. I can choose to think you pretty and you would have to break the rules to prove me wrong. Besides, there is something in your countenance, something that speaks of confidence. This is not the mark of an ugly woman. Oh my, how insightful. But tell me, is your suitor not beautiful herself? I am afraid that she fell off the ugly tree at birth and hit every branch on her way down, then landed face first. Surely she has a redeeming quality? Her stature can only be called willowy if said willow has been cut down and turned into a barrel. Her temperament would suit Hades better than Persephone, and if she ever had a moral fiber, it has long since dried out and been turned into a basket. I cannot help but laugh. What fun he is. I have not had such a pleasant and carefree conversation since. I cannot remember. I have been fighting and hiding for so long, even social events were only the setting for another intrigue. Come to think of it, this one is too. I still have a little time, however. I must not rush this operation, and besides, this is so entertaining. Yes. I missed this. Just a nice evening out with a pleasant conversationalist. Witty retorts and fun exchanges. It is lucky that he would be here alone, and he smells quite good, like soap and sunshine on clean skin. His heart beats so strong, a bit faster now. I could see him touch me and not be terrified. He would be tender and patient, and I would bind him to my service. No. I take a step back and retract my eager fangs. The mask saved me from doing something regrettable. This is not the time to be shopping for new followers. I have a mission to complete. And I would lose him. This man would not do as a vassal, I would have to bind him, and after each feeding, he would grow ever more placid and obedient, and even less himself. A holoshell. Cattle. My hand, which was about to touch his shoulder, falls down by my side. His own hand retreats, and I can tell he's a bit disappointed. I am sorry. I do not know what came over me. Ha ha, there is nothing to apologize for. I wish whatever came over you had stayed a second longer. This was pleasant. I would not want to be too forward. Think nothing of it, I can handle unwanted attention, and this was not it. I say nothing for a while. I liked this moment. I liked him as well, but now the spell is broken and I remember why I am here and what I have become. There is still something more I could steal from this evening. Regarding your unwanted suitor, I do believe you have been approaching the situation the wrong way. You think so? I am open to suggestions. My next step was to unleash the dogs when she would next visit. Nothing so crass, I assure you. Think of your poor dogs. No, what you need is to stake a public claim. The humiliation will prevent her from pursuing the matter. The man's stance shows hope. What would you suggest? I lean forward ever so slightly. Invite me for a dance? He licks his lips nervously. Yes. I see how this would be an excellent idea. I place my arm in his. I am daring tonight. Constanza would be squealing if she knew. My mysterious friend leads me back inside into the dance floor, chest puffed with pride. I realize that he is most likely much younger than me, an occurrence that will only happen more often as years go by. We enter under the curious glance of more than one attendant, line up with the other dancers and move with the sounds of flutes and violins. Dancing is ever the social activity. The slow rhythm invites flirting, though the presence of so many people around prevents anything too bold from happening. There is no physical contact except the occasional hand clap, though it does not stop me from making myself noticeable. Even the most minute change to someone's balance can make a twirl awkward or perfect, and I am, to them, perfect. Every step, every twist is flawlessly timed, and I let my partner guide me and guide him in return. As the music goes on, we become the center of attention, for none can match our display. From the corner of my eye, I notice a plump woman in a dog mask storming out of the room. It seems our little ruse has worked. Your suitor just left the scene. I would rather make sure. Would you grant me the next dance as well? I laugh happily. What my companion lacks in experience, he makes up for it in enthusiasm. Alas, I can see the next step of our plan unfolding, and it will soon be time to get back to work. I must cut our amusement short. I'm afraid I must decline, my good sir. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned after all. I must prepare for my exit. He is about to protest when I break protocol and place a finger before his lips. The gesture is enough to make him miss a step, thankfully promptly corrected. The poor lad looks completely dejected. Will I see you again? No, we will not meet again. This was an experience born of the moment, and perhaps a sign that I can move on a bit, retake what should have been mine. Who knows? When the orchestra stops, I merge into the crowd, leaving him behind, and make my way to the middle of the room, where I am intercepted by another majordomo in a frog mask. Milady, forgive my impertinence. Mr. Fillmore would be delighted if you could join him for a moment, if it pleases you. I nod and follow. Our plan has borne fruit. I thought I would go to him directly upon arriving, however Loth said it would be preferable to be invited. Since my purpose is to be alone with him, it will require us to depart the room, which is better done without too many people's scrutiny. I harbored doubts and voiced them to Loth. How could I, a woman without much experience in flirting, let alone seducing, end up alone with a notable man such as Mr. Fillmore? Especially in one night? Is he not overestimating me? The tall man had simply raised a brow and retorted, how could a powerful man be convinced to be alone with a beautiful woman in his own house? Big difficulty that is. Guess you'll have to impress him with your knitting first, you know. Engage in jolly conversation. Jokes aside, use your instincts and Sinead's lessons. That man wants to be seduced, so since you're wearing a mask, use it to be a little daring. Trust me, I'm a man. It will work. And so here we are. I just hope he will not be so vulgar as to touch me in public. That would be catastrophic for everyone involved. The crowd parts and I finally see our benevolent host. He sits on an actual throne, in a suit of cream and gold. A sun mask adorns his face, held in place by a golden crown. By his side, a large man with a clean-shaven head stands at attention. This is the most blatant show of megalomania I have seen since leaving the Lancaster clan. Good evening, miss. I do not believe we are acquainted. Naturally, Sun King, this is a masquerade after all. The man chuckles, though his eyes remain curious. How should I address you then? Melpomene. Amuse. Dare I ask to see your cothurnes? Cothurnes are shoes worn by classical Greek actors in tragedies. Achilles mentioned it once, thankfully, else I would look ridiculous right now. Surely you would not want me to be indecent at your own party, sir? Of course not, of course not. Right. Say, Milady. The following conversation is a careful exercise in patience. I immediately start by engaging Fillmore on his favorite topic, himself. At the same time, I remain mysterious and use a light touch in my attempt to keep him entertained. Any heavy-handed attempt might be detected by someone with his experience in social matters. I stay careful and do not overestimate myself. A light laugh here, an amused and snarky remark there, little by little I make him more comfortable, and after his guard has let up a bit, I insert a bit of charm in my eyes. It is then that my caution proves warranted, as Mr. Fillmore is wearing a protective magical charm. How interesting. It appears that my dear guest has fingers in a great many pies, to be linked both to the secret society and to mages. Following Sinead's method once more proves to be a boon. I carefully align the essence of the bond linking us to his current feeling, and I start to dig through the magical shield. This charm, however, is powerful. Much more so than the one the Rosenthal guard wore. I must now focus on both my conversation and the breakthrough. Thanks to hours of practice, I quickly succeed and get a glimpse of his thoughts. Unsurprisingly, my host does not hold me in high regard. I do not detect any feeling of respect or concern in his mind. He does, however, harbor no small amount of lust. It is only tempered by careful self-control and apprehension. It cannot be that he knows what I am. The feeling is far too diffuse for that. Then what? Ah, of course, social pressure. My host is a widower, and although it would not be unacceptable for him to search for a new party, being seen going upstairs alone with a younger woman could become a stain on his reputation. This fear is a boon if I can carefully reduce it. Fillmore is clearly worried about his mind being tampered with, and any sudden increase of sexual desire may be regarded as suspicious. Instead, I will simply weaken his inhibitions. Nothing liquor could not have achieved, had he indulged a little more. Soon we reach a tipping point in our exchange. He had been boasting about a collection of Renaissance paintings he had shipped from Italy at great cost when he suddenly stops and turns to me. This is it. Tonight's crux. If he leaves, I will have lost my opportunity to enter his inner sanctum. We would lose weeks of work. I have to try it. How I wish I could see it. I am a painter myself. You are. Yes, though I do not claim to have any talent in it. I did not study Renaissance much, I prefer Baroque. Do you know why? Do tell. I lean forward and my arms press my modest bust forward. It is not much, but I can see a flicker in his eyes as he takes in the view. They capture the moment. Bernini paints David as he throws the stone, and Vermeer paints the girl with the pearly ring as she turns towards him. They play with light and motion to make their work come to life. Fascinating. Yes, the moment. You do make a good case, and I would appreciate your opinion on my modest possessions. I am quite tempted, although I would be loath to hog you at your own party. Think nothing of it. It is not every day that I have the pleasure of entertaining a guest of such refined taste. I bet. Shall we? He stands up and the major domo and bodyguard both mask our exit in what appears to be a well-rehearsed maneuver. I follow him up a flight of stairs to a corridor where we inspect the paintings as we go. Fillmore prefers pastoral landscapes and nudes. Very few of the works displayed are religious in nature, and Greek mythology is prevalent. This might explain how he dared use Cothurnus in the conversation without suffocating under the weight of his own self-importance. Cothurnus. Honestly. And now, the prize of my collection. We are alone in a room filled with curios and art. Fillmore's acolytes did not follow us up the stairs, and I will not get a better chance. Impressive. I say, as I drag a nail along his collar. I discreetly dig out the pendant's chain and easily snap it between two claws. My prey breathes faster as his desire gets the better of him. He does not even notice his protections being stripped away. I let go of any subtlety and crack his mind like a nut. I have been charming him for the better part of an hour. He does not stand a chance. You want to satisfy me, don't you? Yes. Do you keep notes related to the Brotherhood of the New Light? Yes. Notes and blackmail material. Where is it? Some of it is in my safe, in my office. The rest is spread across the county. Lead me there. I do not need to maintain eye contact, though I cannot leave him alone for too long. We quietly leave for his quarters and he unlocks his study, making a rather complex ward disappear with an intricate key. Fillmore's office is all gaudy displays and hard work. He clearly does not owe his success to anyone but himself. I have not seen such discipline and efficiency since Isaac helped me open an account. I shove, without reading, everything I can to a secured inner pocket on the side of my dress. It will make a bulge, but I do not expect a great many people to notice. Owing to my experience in Charleston, it is also insulated against water, fire, smoke and even to some extent, bullets. There is also more than $500 in obligation, which I pocket. Spoils of war. I remember a derogatory remark from Lady Moore about looting and dismiss it immediately. That pompous goose earns everything through prior investments and by smuggling alcohol. She and Malusin can go sunbathe in a volcano. This money is mine. Is there anything else of value for you? Yes, my setup in the basement. Wine? No, the secret basement. Oh my. He truly is an opera villain. How do I access it? It turns out that the concealed entrance is hidden behind a false wall in his bedroom. I have him drink a few decanters of an excellent whiskey I found on his desk and follow him there. There are several exits, all easily accessible from the cellar heading out. No traps. I order him to open the way for me, close it behind and then fall into deep slumber. I wipe most of the memories of the past hour, leaving a blurred image tainted by alcohol. He should wake up realizing he has been robbed by a woman whose face he never saw, and the embarrassment should keep him mostly quiet. I doubt that he will complain to his secret society brethren, as I can easily imagine how they handle compromised elements. I follow a narrow set of stairs in semi-darkness. I do not bother with lamps, and why would I? The passage carries me 3 floors down. I can still hear violins and the whispers of conversation through thin walls, signs that the party is in full swing. On the last landing is a secured door, with no wards this time. I open it and lock it behind me. What in the name of the Watcher is this? I turn around and my eyes confirm what my ears and nose picked up. I stand in the middle of a vast room with a packed dirt floor and support columns. Steel doors lead further into this space, but what attracts my attention stands in the middle. There are 4 cages fastened to the floor and ceiling by steel chains, and in each cage is a woman. Fillmore, you disgusting pervert, I underestimated your depravity. What an incredible setup. This is almost vampire-like in its nature, though terribly amateurish. I could mention 3 improvements off the top of my head. All the cages have covers, a jug of water and a chamber pot. In the first to my left I see a short Asian woman fixing the ceiling with an empty gaze. The second contains a very young black woman cradling her knees. A native girl turns her back to me in the third cage, this time to my left, and the last cage is occupied by a redhead who stares at me in disbelief. My, what should I do with this lot? I notice a desk by the entrance covered in notes and conduct a summary inspection of all his notes. It's sex. All of it. I should not have come here, this is a waste of my time. PSSS. Please, I beg you. I should just go. Miss. Please. Sighing, I approach the red-haired woman. From up close, I realize she is even younger than I assumed. She is surprisingly clean, but exhaustion and misery are clear on her face. Her paleness serves as a contrast to the red of her eyes, the black of the pockets below and the blue of the numerous bruises I see on every spot of naked skin. What is it? Supplicant. The alien word makes her recoil and she flinches in anticipation for some sort of punishment. Seeing none coming, she gathers her courage and continues. Are you with him? No. Then. Please help us escape. And why would I do that? The black girl's sobs turn to a panic whine. I do not react and instead consider the girl in front of me. Resourceful. Daring. Not easily broken. I feel a kind of kinship with this one. She is a survivor, like me. I'll serve you. I can cook, clean and sing. I can swing a bat with the best of them. Please miss, I'll serve you with all my heart, you won't regret it. Deal. What will Loth say? Ah well. How do I open the cages? Sir, I mean, that man who owns the house. He has it. Damn it, I should have been more thorough in my interrogation. Any other way? She shakes her head, licks her lips, thinking fast. He could keep a spare somewhere around. I nod and look around. Besides the desk, there are also several wooden apparatuses that would not be out of place in a torture chamber. A rack holds tools I do not recognize, though their shapes speak of a tragic tale. Should I free this woman, Fillmore may not survive the night. I return to the desk. Unfortunately, a more thorough search only gets me a hidden knife. I am certain that there are no secret compartments. A quick search beyond the two steel doors only reveals the concealed exit and an actual cellar as large as a warehouse filled with crates and cleaning supplies. I return to the red-haired woman, who is starting to tear up and grab the door. I pull. It's steel, miss. The metal creaks and groans, the hinge pops and the door opens. Holy shit. Language. Sorry. I turn to the others. I could do the same or keep them as snacks perhaps? A noise comes from upstairs, heavy footsteps rushing down. What should I do? If I drag her now, they will rush us before I can open the concealed exit. Indecision takes the decision away from me. Stay here, pretend the door is closed, I manage to whisper before the door bangs open and Fillmore bursts in with 3 men in tow. One of them is the bodyguard I met before, still as expressive as ever. The other 2 are more interesting. There is a tired-looking old man with a graying beard and fat man with a red jacket stained with grease, pasty face red and out of breath. The 2 newcomers are mages, very likely the ones who made the pendant and set up the wards. You will, Whiz, return the documents, Whiz, now, says my host while brandishing a gun. Instead of answering, I run towards the darkness. Fillmore does not pull the trigger, not that it would stop me, but even the most soundproof ceiling would not stop the thundering blast of a gunshot. Instead of reaching for the exit, I enter the warehouse, lock the door behind me and jump up. I use my claws and feet to stick to the ceiling and wait. She went left? No, right, idiot. Answers a gravelly voice. Probably the older man. The trio bursts into the room. The older man had the presence of mind to take a lantern and the bodyguard now has a club. We search the area, you go right I go left and we meet at the end. Alistair, you guard the door and catch her if she tries to make a run for it. Do we really have to? We could just. Shut up. Yes, you really have to. Now go. I don't have a light. Then make one. Answers the leader out of patience. The fat man grumbles and complies. Light. A pale orb rises and shines on me. They do not look up. No one ever does. The 2 men split up and start their search. Theirs is the only source of illumination here. With the clutter, it is easy to hide if only for a minute or 2. Come on out, don't make it too hard on yourself. You know you're trapped. I wait until they are a few meters away before dropping on the bodyguard. I may still spare Fillmore to avoid a major scandal. These men are expendable. I silently kill the bodyguard with a finger through the neck. I pull him down to avoid noise of a collapsing body and hide his form in the shade. 1 down, 2 to go. Don't be ridiculous, girl, it can only end one way. What makes you quite so sure? Both men swing around, one with a yelp of surprise and the other with his gauntlet raised. He got caught, huh? Nicely done, but you are only delaying the inevitable. Again I ask, what makes you so sure? There is only one thing that could stop me with no weapon, girl, and you ain't it. Now down on your knees. I am delighted to see that this rune does indeed mask my aura quite well. Loth will be pleased. I press a small indent at the base of my mask. It slides open to reveal my really pointy smile. Think again. Oh fuck. I move. I almost behead the fat man before he can do more than open his mouth in surprise. Spike. Translucent spines start to appear on the old man, before he can do more I am on him. I dodge to the side and grab him by the heel where his defenses have so far failed to appear and swing him bodily into the nearest pile of crates. The wood explodes under him. He gasps in pain as red foam taint his lips. A bar of rusted steel emerges from his battered chest. He gives me one last bitter smile, which I return in kind, before I devour him. It was a good hunt. It was easier than I anticipated. Unfortunately, my short pleasure is interrupted by a gunshot. Bah, can a woman not enjoy her drink in peace? What manner of party is this? Then there is another gunshot, then two others. Oh no. I replace the mask, and when I step outside of the room, a squad of men has gathered in a defensive circle around the shaking Fillmore and two others. A beautiful woman in a daring green dress and crimson hair stands with her eyes closed. Besides her, a tall man with black hair and a well-trimmed beard is calmly reloading a pistol. He has the understated charm of old nobility and is clearly in command. The four girls are dead. The supplicant is sprawled on the ground with brain matter leaking from her shattered skull. Her one remaining eye is staring at the ceiling and freedom that never came. I failed? I failed. I said I would free her and she died, under my care. The supplicant is dead, killed while I was feeding? God damn it. I feel revolted. I was careless and arrogant, and because of this a supplicant I swore to protect lost her life. Fulfilling my word should have come first. I should have massacred those idiots where they stood and forced my way out instead of trying to be smart. Or I should have refused the deal. Instead I went half-cocked, and look where I end up. Pa. Ariane the fool. Ariane the conceited. Ariane, queen of 3 papers and a corpse. It's her. Melpomen. I return my attention to the men in front of me. The squad surrounding Fillmore is armed with muskets, all pointing forward. Imbecile, don't you know that Melpomen carries a knife? She gave you the hint and you did not take it. Typical vampire humor. You lot, fire. I dodge left and down as a storm of lead clatters against the bricks behind me. I charge forward immediately. Belinda. I brake and manage to slow down by digging my talons in the packed earth as a circle of silvery fire raises from the ground. The woman has her eyes opened, and a ring aimed at me. Bolt. I barely manage to dodge the white-hot beam coming from her. I am probably as surprised as she is, though I certainly do not show it. My God, she's a master. Up the stairs, now. Cover Belinda. I take my dagger from a holster on my leg and stab into the barrier. The red-haired woman grunts but does not yield. The pain I feel is manageable in comparison to the deeply unsettling shame now coursing through my mind. Failure. I am forced to back off when one of the soldiers fires at point-blank range. A small twist allows me to reposition, but it is clear that this tactic will not succeed. Instead, I retreat to a torture table and grab it. The witch was practically sneering when I was falling back. Now that she sees me lifting the piece of furniture in the air, her countenance breaks. Shit. Inferno. The spell goes off and she collapses in the arms of a soldier who drags her up. A moment later, the piece of furniture slams into a straggler and pulps him against the unyielding steel door, now closed. A wave of delayed heat explodes outward. I upend a table and take cover as it moved forward, igniting everything in its path. Fire. Damn it. I need to get out. Now. I rush over ground shimmering with heat and don't bother touching the reddening handle. Yeah. I boot the door open the way Loth showed me. The rectangle of steel bangs against the wall and I roll inside. Hot. The temperature keeps increasing. I manage to operate the locking mechanism and jump through the opening into the blessedly cool night. And then I run away. Fillmore will have rescinded his invitation, so I cannot finish off my enemies, even if I were willing to take the risk. I got documents we will have to decrypt. In return I'll let them know they face a vampire. Who am I kidding? I know what I lost, a supplicant and even perhaps a potential vessel. As I disappear in the darkness, this night feels like everything but victory. Chapter 41. Normally upon waking I immediately exit my sealed sarcophagus. There has been a lot to do recently, and time is precious when one is slumbering for as long as I do. Now, my hand reaches for the lever and hesitates. I need a moment for myself, to think. Last night was full of lessons. The first one is that my romantic life will require me to stop myself from eating my partner if he is immortal. I can see that this would be problematic. The easy solution would be to court or let myself be courted by a vampire, and that is not going to happen anytime soon. A problem for another time. The second important lesson was how easy it was to dispose of 2 mages and a guard. I butchered them in an instant. They did not stand a chance. Even a prepared group with a defensive circle did little more than delay me for a few seconds. I need to re-evaluate the impact I can have when battle is joined in the future. I must remain cautious, of course, but I can see myself slaughtering my way through an entire squad if I catch them unprepared. I should be flattered by the progress I made, yet I cannot rid myself of the oppressive weight of my own failure. Even the overall success of the operation pales in comparison to the loss of the one I had sworn to protect. I am left bitter and deeply unsettled. I exit my protective shell and join Dalton on the driver's seat. "Good evening, Dalton. How are you doing?" "I will be good for another few hours. Asney will have to drink at some point. It would be best if we stopped in a few miles." "Very well." I keep silent as we trudge forward. Dalton once again shows his ability to read the mood and stays quiet, letting me work through my problems. With no distractions, I submit myself to a pointless game of what-ifs. What if I had decided to just finish Fillmore off? What if I had dragged her out the moment I heard footsteps? What if I had hidden completely and made them believe I had left by another way? I churn and mix scenarios in my head again and again until I am interrupted in my self-destructive musings. "What happened, mistress? Talk. How do you know that I am upset?" You lean forward and occasionally scrunch your nose when you rehash something. Bah. I will have to work on my composure when I enter vampire society. Being read like a book sounds like a terrible liability to have if Lancaster clan's Byzantine politics are any indication. Well? I dramatically sigh to convey my annoyance. I failed a promise. I recount the night and focus on the supplicant's death. Dalton takes the time to reflect before asking me a question I had not considered. "Does failing hurt your pride and esteem, or does it bite deeper? Your kind follows strange rules. Perhaps breaking them hurts you as diseases and age hurt us." Is he correct? Breaking an oath is, for me, unthinkable, but perhaps vampires can be forced into situations when they see no other choices but to do it. What if 2 promises conflict one another? Then this would strike at our very essence. We are supernatural creatures, and Loth has already demonstrated the importance of will and purpose. I dare not imagine what would happen to a vampire oath breaker. Then what about me? I did not let her die on purpose. Then why? If this is about intent and belief, then what do I believe killed her? Greed. This is it, is it not? I was not committed. I tried to both complete my task in an optimal way and to protect her somewhat. Indecision and greed were my sin. I focused so much on planning and long-term benefit that I forgot this simple truth. I am not a master yet, to have plans within plans. If I give my word, I must pursue it with all my might, probably. Yes, Dalton, it hurt me. If I had only tried to save her and killed Fillmore on the spot, this would not have happened. Perhaps, or perhaps we would have the entire Jargon militia trailing us even now, looking for a red-hair woman with bruises on her face. Do you realize the ramifications of violently slaying a governor, mistress? Do you think me able to manage the situation during the day, alone and without plan as the nation's most wanted outlaw? Now that he put it like that. I was born north of here in an isolated hamlet. I completely stop. I turn to Dalton and look at him with wide eyes. In our 8 years together, he has never, ever mentioned his family even once. I know what food he likes, what music he prefers, even how he ties his shoes. I still have no idea about his origin, and I did not pry. This revelation is simply unprecedented. Lots of religious folks moved to the New World because of persecutions, and I got to give it to these European lads, many of them were correct. Some beliefs should have remained in the Dark Ages. Let me give you an example. You have a community. Each wise and holy man has several wives, and plenty of children. When women are of age, when they have their first blood, they are married off to other wise and holy men. When the men are of age, They are invited to travel the world, witness its debauchery, and accomplish some nigh impossible tasks. Do you see where I am going with this? And if the young men return too early or do not conform, then something happens to them? Nothing has to happen to them. The village elders shun them, and the entire community follows suit. There's little need for violence when you have absolute control, and they did. We were told that the outside world was unholy and monstrous. We were told that the wise men guided us for our own good, and since some of them were our parents, we believed them. When my little sister turned 13, she was set to be married with the leader of our community, a man by the name of Holden. Holden was 70 if he was a day, and something about this bothered me greatly. My sister was scared of him. I made the mistake to voice my doubts to my father. I was immediately ostracized, publicly humiliated. I was asked to repent. I was told that I was the victim of evil souls. My friends avoided me, all because I voiced some concerns. I did not even oppose the marriage. In my mind, this man was a saint. This ordeal opened my eyes to a series of petty abuse that was so unchristian that I confronted my father about it at dinner, as he was hurling insults at me. We came to blows. I was surprised, but eventually, I won. I knew I had to leave, and I offered my sister to come with me. She refused. That is the thing that bothers me to this day. She refused because she was scared of the outside. Because they had fed her with lies and manipulated her from birth, she could not envision anything else. It was preferable to have this ancient man touch her than having to face the road, uncertainty, starvation perhaps. She refused because she adored them and they could do no wrong, and they could do no wrong because if they had, her entire world would collapse. And that is why since this moment, I follow no one blindly. Nobody is free from mistakes, mistress, not even you. Maybe not even God. Until that point, Dalton's eyes have been fixed forward as he reminisced those painful memories. Now, he turns to me with a fanatic light in his eyes. I never took him for a believer in anything, and I was wrong. My vassal has a set of values that is so deeply embedded in his personality that I could never tell he had thought them through. You can be wrong, mistress, and contrary to the others, you have an eternity to learn from your mistakes and make progress. Neither of us can say which would have been the better path. Only experience will tell you, and you will get it, if you live. So stop blaming yourself. You did what you thought was best and failed. You cannot succeed every time. What matters is that you follow your values as best you can and never stop improving. I never thought I could be so impressed by him. Dalton is usually so reserved. I sometimes tend to forget that his mind is no longer that of the shy boy I took from the Valiants. Those are words to live by, my Dalton. Thank you. We are here for each other, mistress. As you know. Indeed. Have you ever thought about returning? Yes, and no, I will not. I would find her comfortable in her existence and her place in the world, surrounded by a gaggle of children. And yes, I know there are other girls, but even if we go and break the walls of this prison, they would only curse us for it, and rebuild them higher. It takes a lot to question one's value, mistress. Most people here tend to forget that the pursuit of happiness does not equate the pursuit of freedom. Liberty is a burden that not everyone is willing to carry. Oh, I know. In fact, I am counting on it. Shopping for cattle, mistress? Eventually. We will depart the nest at some point. Carve a kingdom, maybe. I want dibs on the Ministry of Justice. One thing at a time. After a few more jabs at each other, we continue in silence. Dalton's lesson makes me feel better. I made a mistake, yes, and that is normal. Vampire are hunters, not protectors. There will be a learning curve. I wake up to the ring of a bell. I hastily dress and leave my bedroom to see what the emergency is this time. As soon as I reach the main floor, I know that something is different. All shutters are drawn and the protective wards along the walls are on standby, humming quietly and filling the air with the promise of retribution. I count no less than 25 heartbeats upstairs and stop in my tracks. Loth's voice reaches me from the smoking room. Ari, please join us. Still a bit wary, I climb up the stairs and spot men in a strange uniform equipped with long muskets. They salute smartly as I pass. There is a hint of fear in them, hinting that they know what I am. As I approach the door, I feel a familiar aura that surprises me to my core. Isaac. Hello, Ariane. Excellent, you're here. Yes, excellent. Please, do come in, there is much to discuss. I enter the room and take the gathering in front of me. Loth is lounging in his favorite chair in full battle regalia, minus his steel armor. Facing him, Isaac sits upright with a mortal standing by his side. The man has a close-cropped beard and the bearing of a veteran. His mature face is frozen in a mask of disapproval and his eyes dart around the room, evaluating and gauging. Dalton is next to my seat. He is armed to the teeth and shows a few bruises but appears otherwise unharmed. Splendid, now that you are here, I can explain the situation in earnest. I will be using English for the benefit of Loth, Mr. Dalton, as well as Mr. Vaynett here, who is the head of my security detail. Be aware that I am here as the official representative of the Rosenthal Consortium as it relates to the matter of the Leucadia. Now, your competent vassal noticed two suspicious men circling the property and attempted to apprehend them. They turned out to be Brotherhood members and he put them down despite their physical prowess. I turn to Dalton and realize now where the bruises come from. They can't outrun bullets, mistress, not like you. His smile has a vicious quality to it that I mirror with pleasure. Those imbeciles tried to take down my precious vassal. A quick death was too good for the likes of them. Yes, well, their bodies are downstairs and we managed to dissect them. Wait, you were awake during the day? Yes, Ariane, masters wake up increasingly earlier as they grow, though our vulnerability to sunlight remains and we are extremely weakened while it is out. Please focus. Time is of the essence. Moving on, we found out that they have runes inscribed in invisible tattoos upon them. Those are mostly shoddy work and allows them to perform incredible feats at the cost of their life expectancy. They can momentarily increase their speed, strength or endurance. Never more than one at a time. Loth and I estimate the average lifespan after inscription to be around 2.5 years, though that will certainly not be relevant to us. There is no known way to deprive them of this power. It is still fortunate that we found those two. The members of cells we had encountered while clearing secondary rings had not been marked. I suspect that only their trusted muscle will have access to runes, and that can only mean one thing. They are unto us. Yes. We are expecting them either tonight or tomorrow. Loth of Skarag decided to make a stand and, though we do not approve, we will offer assistance this once. Ah, I thought that the tension was due to the imminent arrival of our enemies, but it seems it is a question of ego between Loth and probably Vaynett. If the head of security thinks he can convince the old burgher to give ground, he is sorely mistaken. The only person on the planet who can convince Loth of Skarag to retreat is Loth of Skarag. I presume that my dear host felt no obligation to explain the extent of his formidable defenses to the newcomers. They have no idea, and neither does our foe. In the meanwhile, I shall explain the reason for my coming and the importance of the mission that is ours and by extension, yours. What we are looking for, is this. Isaac removes a drawing from his briefcase and places it on the table in front of me with reverence. The paper is yellow with age and depicts an ornate black box with silver engravings. The lower right corner has been painted a deep black with a frantic hand, wild strokes of the brush contrasting with the realistic depiction of the object. Your painter had a stroke? Asks Loth with little humor. No. This is deliberate. I add without thinking. I lightly caress the black surface. Frantic lines, a sudden urge to render something that cannot be rendered. I know this effect all too well. He tried to draw it but did not have the tools. Isaac looks at me with naked curiosity. Yes, very insightful, Ariane. This is an illustration of the box containing the Gate of Beria. It was drawn by Mr. Matthews, an artist under our employ during the late 16th century. We believe that the gate bled through its containment and affected him. Matthews was an extremely rigorous man. When questioned, he insisted that his depiction was made faithfully. For the very same reason, we have no idea what the item looks like in reality. Scholars who got their hand on it have described it in confusing terms. Alton describes it as, and I quote, an aperture into the unfathomable path up and in. A key that breaks. Nashoba's prophecy is now confirmed. Let me guess, they all turn mad? Asks Loth. Curiously, no. All those who study it have been witnessed to be functional adults, or at least as functional as this sort can be. Their notes, however, grow increasingly cryptic, and yet it appears that they understand them. Regardless of the gate's true nature, it is an artifact of great power that is said to unlock man's true potential. The thing is that it requires energy to function, life energy to be precise. Like the runes? I ask, is this a coincidence? It is not. Ownership and study of the artifact allowed the Brotherhood of the New Light, or Ascendancy as they are called in Europe, to develop this extremely crude method. Let me finish, please. The artifact has been partially charged during only 2 events. The first one was the Black Plague and the second, the 7 Years' War. The reason why we did not notice immediately is the staggering amount of deaths occurring at the time, as well as the general hysteria. Simply put, we are still uncertain of how it kills, only that it doesn't turn its victims into mindless creatures craving the vitality that was robbed from them. Wait, what? If the gate is acquired and triggered, all humans in its vicinity but its bearer will be robbed of both life and sanity. They will turn into short-lived but murderous lunatics. At the same time, the survivor will acquire the strength to defy a lord, if they manage to repeat the process enough times. By the Watcher. Indeed. The item was stolen from a secret vault by means unknown and later purchased by Ascendancy. Before we could act, it was shipped to the New World. And the ship was lost. Precisely. And now, it has been found. Lady and gentlemen, my task is to secure the artifact and return it to Rosenthal custody. I would appreciate your support in this matter. Not that we have much choice anymore. Loth and I meet eyes and I start. I have questions. Go ahead, lass, I will ask mine later. Thank you. What is the consortium's stake in all this? The secured vault was ours. We have a responsibility to stop them. Isaac gives me a pointed look, as if daring me to question his integrity. I shift my posture by the barest amount in a display of annoyance, a gesture that mortals will not pick up. Isaac returns an expression of contrition for a mere 1/10 of a second before his face turns back into a mask of professionalism. I let the matter go. Have you located the wreck of the Leucadia? Not yet, but we have found those who have. I will elaborate further later. Fine. I am done for now, Loth. All right. Ye said ye wanted to stop them, eh? Those Brotherhood twats? My talons click on my seat's wooden arms, but I refrain from commenting. So long as there is an outsider here, I will not castigate Loth on his foul language. Yes. You and what are me? Before Venet can object to the remark, Isaac raises a hand to stop him and replies with a conciliatory tone. Venet's company is well trained and they have the full trust of the consortium. If more men are required, up to 100 will join us from Savannah. I did not bring a full company to a social visit. I am sure that you understand why. Who did you say had the wreck? Well, that's the thing. The vessel that sold the surgery box belongs to a faction we have no influence on, more specifically, the Pirates of Brateria. I can scarcely believe my ears. Excuse me. We are to confront pirates? Indeed, my dear, indeed. Pirates and smugglers. We know where to locate them, and we will depart once we have repulsed the Brotherhood assault. Oh, I'm going to repulse them all right, don't ye worry. You think they will come tonight? Alas, they don't want us to escape, you know. If you're discovered ye have to launch the raid immediately or retreat. I don't know about ye but I don't see them half-brain fuckwits falling back. They think they are strong and canny and we've been pissing them off for weeks now. The wood under my hands creaks ominously in the silence that follows that statement. Yes Loth, indeed. I'm going to prepare for the fight. Will you help Loth, vassal? Yes mistress, before that I have a question as well. Mr. Isaac. Sir. Ask away. Answers Isaac with a pleased smile. You said the Brotherhood is related to Ascendancy. Any chance of those guys coming here like you did? Yes. A very good point indeed. We have ways to track them if they come from Savannah in great numbers, but yes, we can still expect them to receive reinforcements. The consortium is monitoring the situation, and I will be advised if we are to face more enemies. In the meanwhile, our task is to locate the gate first and make sure they cannot obtain it. Now, let us discuss tactics. I leave and let Loth and Venet sort it out. I am not a tactician, or rather my tactics are radically different from theirs, and I am content to leave the squad planning in their expert hands. When Dalton and I return armed to the teeth, both men have managed to temporarily shelve their massive egos and align a little bit. Venet looks furious, which, I assume, means that my host got the last word, possibly with a variation of "ye can do as I say" or "ye can take your gear and go away." Isaac sits comfortably in his chair and harbors a genial smile. I know who I have to thank for a quick agreement. Loth explains the battle plan. 3 of Venet's men would watch the back and 2, the sides, while the remaining 15 would gather around windows on the second floor and attic with the shutters closed. At the right moment, I will fire a flare to provide illumination, and that will be the signal to shoot on the intruders. With the door locked and a clear view of our opponents, as well as Loth's surprises, we will turn the front of the house into a crossfire field of death. I would deal with any surprise they may have. The plan has the merit of being simple and sound, and we take positions. Loth disappears into his first-floor workshop under Venet's disapproving glance. I know what Loth is up to and find myself smiling inward, hoping that the Brotherhood sent enough men to annoy the grumpy giant. A little after midnight, they come. 6 figures emerge from the tree line and sneak towards the house in dispersed order. I fire the flare gun and immediately line a shot. Now, as the angry spark flies in the air and basks the lawn in furious red, I pull the trigger on my rifle and see the lead foe's head snap back. An instant later, the crack of gunshot rings into the night. I reload with vampire speed, but as I watch, our targets are sprinting back with unnatural swiftness. Most shots miss as a result, with only one other intruder falling. Just as they reach cover, a thunderous boom resounds, taking both a man's head and part of a trunk. Loth has decided to open with his lowest caliber weapon, it seems. From the safety of the forest, red flowers and plumes of smoke erupt. 5, then 10, then 40 muskets answer our challenge, their bullets clattering uselessly against the protective steel barriers now covering the windows. I aim and shoot at an exposed man, but there are so many. I can't see them, mistress. I grunt and reload the flare gun, doing my best to forget that shooting myself with this will turn me into a torch. I angle the small weapon and send an incandescent light close to the enemy line. With them illuminated, our side resumes firing. Undaunted by the futility of their attack, our foes keep shooting. I am not too worried about our ammunitions or defenses. What worries me is the implication of such an attack. They do not care about publicity. There is no way to hide the assault of half a company on a doctor's house. There will be an investigation. So why would they take such an insane risk? Just as I line yet another shot, they suddenly retreat and silence descends on the clearing. This is strange. I would expect them to storm us. As I think those words, a deafening explosion erupts from deeper into the copse and a small cannonball smashes against the main door. It pings, bounces back and digs a furrow in the ground. They have artillery? I tap on Dalton's shoulder and scream, "I'm going out." I drop from a window on the left side wall and rush to the cover of the trees. Just as I reach a large oaken trunk, I jump up, thus avoiding a furious swing from a tall man wielding a cavalry saber. The weapon buries itself in the wood as if it were butter. His eyes widen in surprise. "Above you," I add teasingly before stabbing him. I am immediately on the next man. There are 6 of them and they do not stand a chance. Even their improved reflexes are not enough to match me. Compared to Father Perry, who had struck where I would be instead of where I was, those men are but awkward children. In only a handful of heartbeat there is only one left standing. He raises a musket and I decide to try something. As our eyes meet, I use charm. Instead of my usual attempts at subtlety, I simply crush his mind like a rotten apple. He blinks and lowers his arm in confusion. Not waiting for any further results, I close the distance and take his head off. It worked. One more tool in my arsenal. I could even use it to destabilize a foe at a critical moment. My distraction does not last. Loth's wards may be sturdy, but not sturdy enough to repel sustained cannon fire. I move right towards the forest at the front of the house and the enemy artillery hidden within it, keeping my head low. Perhaps I should have painted the mast black. I finally hear heartbeats in front of me and take a close look at the men regrouping in the tree line and the defenses arrayed around them. I am so surprised by what I see that my mouth hangs open. Only the sound of a second detonation a few heartbeats later manages to draw me out of my surprise. This is bad. I should fall back. I should fall back and warn the others, and yet, I have an opportunity to learn more and to repay a debt. Just a minute. I sprint forward, trigger a proximity ward and jump up. I scramble up the tree like a squirrel as a man's voice gives an order in a commanding voice. Now. Men are up from the ground, shedding their camouflage and great sprays of mud and leaves, to find nothing. The man from Fillmore's cave steps up from a dug-up shelter. He is dressed in luxurious hunting gear in green and brown and holds a decorated musket. To his right, Belinda emerges similarly equipped, and I notice with pleasure that she looks just a bit apprehensive. To his left is a man I have never seen. He wears a steel helmet of unknown origin and the plastron of a cuirass. On his chest, a massive pendant harboring the symbol of a tower dangles, and his clean-shaven face is scrunched in concentration. The biggest threat will have to go first, but before that, using the confusion, I throw one of Loth's beacon stones next to the 6-pounder pummeling our door. You just wait. I shoot a pistol at Belinda, only for it to flatten against a translucent shield. I stare in awe. This was a silver bullet. Belinda yelps and the leader flinches, but the tower man barely moves. It's him. His shield has stopped my projectile. I now regret not taking one of Loth's special bullets. Before their eyes look up, I am already falling among the crowd. I cut a man open and claw a throat before they even register my presence, but soon, they bring their numbers to bear. They all focus on speed and rush me all at once. I flip over the closest warrior and cave his skull in on the way. I land on another foot first and jump against a trunk, slashing a spine. Then with both feet against solid wood, I propel myself like the rogue vampire showed me and barrel forward closer to the mages. I land on a soldier blade first and sent 2 silver throwing knives in the shield. It holds, though the enemy mage's hands start shaking. I do not dare get closer as I expect another silvery circle to close around me if I did. I cannot afford to get caught in a trap. It does not matter, more prey to the slaughter. Yes, there is still work to be done. I jump backward and in the same motion, grab the dead enemy's pistol and fire at the witch. As I expected, more silver. I use the backward momentum to slide under another foe's slash and dig my left hand in his chest, raise him above me and send him flying into the shield. I can't take much more of this. Screams the tower mage. Dark joy fills my still heart. This is what I have been made for, this bloodshed, my foes' plans unraveling as I carve a red path through their terrified ranks. You brought sheep to a lion hunt, I remark. I'm done. Yells the witch immediately, bloodhound. The world stills as reality submits to the will of the woman. A ball-sized projectile erupts from her gauntlet with a deafening shriek, leaving behind a trail of reddish gold. It flies straight at me. I ignore the retreating vermin and dodge to the side and under cover. The spell hits a trunk and melts through it without stopping. Its trajectory changes to track my movements. That might be problematic. I throw a silver knife through it without much effect. It hits a branch in a pile of molten slag. Running out of ideas, I rush at the man whose spine I severed and lift his still moaning body as the sphere of death is about to hit. I throw him forward. Spell and screaming man impact, and with a thundering sound, he explodes. Blood showers all present. Note to self, do not get hit by that. Shit. Screams the witch, but her leader shows no trace of concern. It does not matter, vampire, and you know it. The haughty man looks at me from behind a line of soldiers and the two mages. Pathetic weakling, hiding. No, he is trying to guide me into rushing forward. They probably have another trap and I do not want to risk it. And who might you be? You can call me the Herald, for this is my purpose. Tonight, I bring death. He is delaying, and so am I very well. Let us turn this into a contest. I make a show of watching the corpses around me before returning my attention to him. You did send a lot of your followers to the Hades. And their sacrifice will not be in vain. I am so glad that you and the interloper looking into our business work together. I do so love killing two birds with one stone. He smiles viciously. I am unimpressed. I should show him his own innards. No, Ari, this is a trick. Think about something pleasant, like painting, the placid gaze of the watcher, or the nice screams the Herald will give me when I shove my thumbs in his orbits. Ah, this is not working. Better move the conversation forward. This house is a fortress. Your pathetic band will never breach it. Oh, I beg to differ. See the men behind us. Look at their uniform. I already saw. You were bluffing. Your kind works from the shadows. The time of shadows is past. Intons the man with solemnity. The next words are not for me, but for his men. The time of enlightenment is upon us. We will bring our full power to bear to fulfill our mission and usher humanity in a higher realm. Nothing shall stop us in this most august of tasks. You and your associates are but insects buzzing in our ears. Noisy and bothersome, but ultimately just a nuisance. Your pitiful attempts stop tonight. You see, contrary to you, our reach is long, and you criminals did cause the governor's house to burn down. Ah, so that is it. I have to warn the others. At least I dropped the beacon in the midst of Brotherhood members. I would love to stay and listen, but I do believe my associate has a message for you. Hesitation mars the Herald's face just at the right time. For the second time, the night stills as a monstrous detonation shakes the earth and makes the very air vibrate. From the house, a large metal mouth belches a storm of steel and fire onto the forest. In a single instant, the maelstrom of incandescent death smashes into the 6-pounder, its servants and everyone and everything around on a 20-foot radius. The cloud propagates outward like the devil's own breath. When the dust settles, all that is left behind are splintered trunks, torn earth and the shredded remains of men and equipment. Fools, they thought they could outgun Loth. Laughable. With an ominous groan of rotating gears, the decorated barrel angles left. Fall back. Orders the Herald with a calm voice. His men form a ring around him, and they move deeper into the forest. I could go after them, but I realize that I simply do not have the time. If what he says is correct, and I believe him, by morning this place will be swarming with enemies. We need to leave. I run back up and inside. I ask Dalton to fetch Loth, and soon, we all gather in the entrance with Isaac and Venet. We have a problem. I noticed Lass. It's vaporized now. Ah no, we have a real one. The cannon was indeed used by Brotherhood, but the musket line is not them. No? No, you see, for the past 20 minutes we have been firing on the United States Army. Tope continued. Thanks for listening.